Well, hello and welcome to this month's webinar called How to Predict the Future with Workforce Management Software, or alternatively, WTF is WFM. So what is workforce management software? Let's take a look at this slide here. Basically, workforce management is walking that tightrope between being overstaffed and understaffed. And at any given point during any day, you can be overstaffed or understaffed. And it's very clear to see what the problems with this are. If you're overstaffed, your costs are rising, and that means your profits are falling. If you're understaffed, then your customer satisfaction isn't great, people are going to abandon more calls, and your staff turnover is going to be worse because it's just not a nice place to work, the customers are all annoyed, and what have you. So being understaffed isn't a great thing either. And what we've generally say is that companies of more than 20 employees should have some kind of WFM strategy, a workforce management strategy. And that doesn't have to be a piece of software. It can be the more traditional methods with Excel and various other techniques. And we're going to have a look at those in a moment. But any strategy that you do have will need to cover the basic elements of the workforce management cycle, which I've just added up onto the screen. And what this is basically several points that you need to investigate. So the first one is decide your service levels for each channel. So you might be a multi-channel type of contact center, and you can decide to have 80% of your calls answered in 20 seconds, as an example of the service level. And once you've got that target in mind, you then need to take account of your agent's skill set and their availability, so their contracted hours and their preferences, whether they want to work 3 days a week or whatever it may be. And I think that being able to take agents' contractual and their preferences of when they want to work can help with churn and what have you. So it's very important to have the right agent at the right time. So on the basis of that, so after that, what we can do is forecast call volumes, and this is here that you can see the call volumes being forecasted. This is from a workforce management system called AgileTime, which we integrate with at IPscape. And we're going to go into that in more detail in a moment. So you forecast your call volumes, you then build in your one-off events, your trainings, your call spikes when you're expecting call spikes and what have you. You can build those into the scheduling module. And then on the basis of your schedule, which is based on the call volumes, you can then start to roster your agents. Which is all possible using traditional methods as well as the workforce management software way. And then this is where it starts to get more interesting with the workforce management thing. The monitoring of events and adherence to the schedules that you've created is where the workforce management stuff really comes into its own. So you can have the best schedules in the world, but if no one's following them, then they're worse than useless. So that is basically point 6. And then we can move on to the report on actual activity and alter your forecasts and schedules if needed. And that's all possible in traditional ways, but much easier with the software. And what we've got here are just a couple of dashboards, which we'll have a look at in more detail to show you the kind of monitoring, agent monitoring, and task monitoring that you can do with workforce management. Okay, so that's our workforce management cycle. And if you're looking at any of these kinds of strategies, you need to consider those elements at least. So a traditional approach is usually with things like an ACD, something like IPscape, where you're getting the statistics for your calculations, Excel, and something like this, an Erlang calculator, which I got this one from callcenterhelper.com, and this is a great tool. And I'll just run through this as one of the more traditional approaches, and it will highlight the shortcomings in this particular type of approach. Although you can do live on the website at Call Center Helper. You can pop in your incoming contacts that you're expecting for 30 minutes. And this is, you can work out how many staff are needed to cover that based on the assumptions and the service levels that you want to give. So it's a really good bit of kit, and you can do it in Excel as well as with the online calculator. So if we're expecting 100 coming calls, and IPscape, our contact manager platform, management center platform, can generate all of these numbers for you, and you just put them in. So we've got 100 calls coming for every 30 minutes. We've got our average handle time, how long the agents are spending to make that call. Then we've got the required service level, which is 80% of calls answered in 20 seconds. So we've got some further things that we can further fine-tune our things, so we can have maximum occupancy. So agents, although they may be on the phones and they can't all be taking calls 100% of the time. So the maximum occupancy allows agents to do after-call work and various other things as well. So you can set that, and it's generally considered unrealistic to expect more than a 90% occupancy rate. Shrinkage, this is, again, is something that we, with your breaks and your lunch times and all of that, shrink down the real number of agents you really have in your contact center at any one time. And then we've got this average patience, which is the abandonment, how long it takes for a customer on average to abandon a call, how long they'll wait. So we put all of that, you press the calculator, and you get some results like this. And this is great stuff. So you need 17 agents for that 30 minutes, and you get all of this feed out. And that's great for 30 minutes. And this kind of highlights part of the limitations of this. We're just saying for 30 minutes. Now, calls fluctuate throughout the day. You've got peaks and troughs. So what you can end up doing is making this calculation for each 30 minutes block throughout the day, which is now starting to talk about some pretty heavy-duty calculations going on. You could always just extend the period, but then you're building inefficiency into that period. So if you're saying this is for 7 hours, you're not just going to get you know, a set amount of calls during that period. They're going to be spaced out, and that's one of the shortcomings of the traditional approaches. There's a lot of calculations involved. You need to be an Excel genius, and if your genius leaves, then the chances are you're not going to be able to work out quite what he's been doing or she. So that's a problem. Reporting takes a lot of time. You don't get that real-time thing. You're not getting any feedback of what's going on intraday kind of feedback with this traditional approach. And basically, with workforce management, you are you're getting feedback all the time. You're improving the algorithms. You're using smart technology to work out what your incoming calls should be for the next 30 minutes, etc., etc. So these are some of the problems with the traditional approach. This can be used and is used with great effect by a lot of people. But the workforce management one is the one we're here to talk about, and predicting the future with this stuff. So workforce management approach. So lots of different companies offer this. It's not just AgileTime, who are the ones that we integrate. We've got Kronos, ADP, Deputy, Oracle, Verint are all very big names in the field. And they all largely do very similar things, but are more specialized in various areas. For example, Kronos is more a retail kind of thing, but they all focus on different areas. And generally speaking, they're not really playing to the 20 to 500 space. So that where you've got 20 employees to 500 employees. They're really not interested in that kind of market. And this is something that certainly at IPscape, most of our customers are within that range. So we're really looking for a good partner to help out with this, and we found it in AgileTime. That said, we can integrate with other systems, but for the purposes of this webinar, we're going to use AgileTime. So they all do pretty much these things up at the top. So they all forecast call volumes. So they work out how many call volumes based on historic information from, for example, IPscape, but it could be from, I don't know, ServiceNow or other systems as well, Salesforce, Zendesk, which, and it can integrate. And AgileTime can integrate with all of those, as can many of these, I'm sure, although I haven't looked into it. We've then got scheduling and rostering. So on the basis of that forecast, they make a schedule and then roster staff. Then you've got reporting and monitoring to see how good your forecasts were and how much people are adhering to the schedules that you've created. And then you should have some kind of timesheet, time tracking element that you can then export to your payroll system or something of that nature. So if you're looking at WFM software, these are things that they all should be doing, and they should do it well. And we found that with this particular software. So let's take a look at it. So we start off with the first thing, which is forecast call volumes. So with this, what we've got is a forecast. It's based on the information out of IPscape. This is something that we're actually using now with IPscape, and it's forecasting based on historical data and an algorithm that works out some pretty clever stuff. So essentially, for you to get started with this, we need 3 months worth of data to get the algorithms working and making realistic forecasts. So it can work out intra-week, intra-day, intra-month kinds of trends. It can do all sorts of very, very clever kinds of things. And you can do this by campaign, or what they call workflows. You can divide this down into different channels if you need to. So you've got these graphs that do that. And that's a great thing. So you've got this as forecast is live, it's getting information being fed through it. So we've taken, to start off with, you need at least 3 months worth of data, and then it's just feeding information into it. They're linked by API to IPscape or whatever system you're using, and just it feeds that information in, and then it is continually updating its forecast and checking that it's correct. So that's great. So, but basically, the longer you use it, the smarter it gets. So that's your forecast. That's the first element. The second element is smart scheduling and rostering. And I really like this bit. I used to run retail shops in London, betting shops, and scheduling and rostering was always a terrible problem. So I love this bit. So here we've got basically up at the top the schedule, how many staff you need. So this is effectively, this top line is how many staff you need to cover the call volumes that the system thinks you're going to have. So that's your top line. However, that's not the headline number. This is your, basically you've got shrinkage here with this orange bit that you see is all of the breaks and the meetings, the trainings, all of that stuff that's going on within the contact center, and then you get the actual level of staffing that you have on for it to cover the calls, and that's given with the bottom line. And what you see within this, once you've got your forecast and how many staff you actually need, you can generate a line each for each one of these. So underneath here, we've got each one of the staff. So we've got someone here, and I don't know if you can see it, it's very small. We've got various different people. We've got Andrew and various other people here, each with their schedule for today. So what they're doing, so this is while they're on the phones, the green is on the phones, and then you've got various meetings and what have you. And these rosters are generated automatically. So we know what staffing level we need, and then we press a button and it creates the rosters for the staff. And the agents can then look at their rosters and all of that stuff by logging into Agile Time on their phones. It's all optimized for mobile phones, for tablets, for whatever you need. And those rosters go out to the agents, so they know exactly what they're doing on any given day. And there are there's a different app, different permissions for supervisors, etc., etc. So this is one of the things I like most about it. It's very flexible. You can create new rosters very, very easily, and you can schedule meetings and what have you. You don't have to look for the time when you've got a meeting. You've got this. You basically just press a button and add a meeting and say, I want this to be scheduled at the optimal time. So literally say, I want a meeting. I want everybody to attend this meeting, but I still want 5 people to cover the phones. When's a good time for that meeting? And you just say, I want 5 people. We're going to have 2 meetings, basically, each with 5 people in, so that we can have people on the phones. And then it will schedule that, and it will sprinkle them into the schedule for these people whenever there's a good whenever there's space, really, a realistic and optimum time. And I think that's great, and it means that you can be much more accommodating of staff requests, because you're looking at a time that's good for them and also good for the business as well, and optimal time. So it allows you to do much cleverer scheduling. So if you want to do shorter shifts and what have you, that's all much easier to do with workforce management software. And you can try things out and see how effective they've been with different shift patterns, etc., which is really very hard with Excel spreadsheets and what have you. So as you may have gathered, I'm quite a fan of this. This is a great bit. So I was really impressed with that until I saw the reporting functionality. So we've got loads and loads of reports. So this probably looks very complicated to you. It really isn't. I've just chosen 4 of the reports that they have there. And that is really very good. We've got the first one here. As I said earlier, you can have the best schedule in the world, but if no one's following it, then it's worthless. And this is how you can monitor this. So here we've got one for punctuality. You can also see one for adherence, and here's one for what people are doing throughout the day. And here are your call volumes. So punctuality, we can see here we've got filters up at the top here, so we can change the range, the campaign, the workflow, whatever you want to call it. Basically the where your people are, you can change that or have a look at the contact center as a whole. So what we see here is total shifts started late, total shifts ended early, so you get a thing like that, and then it's broken down by staff member, so you can see that. Then we've got adherence, so this is adherence to the schedule. What percentage, how close are we actually to making the schedule 100%? What are the agents actually doing? So are they on the phone all the time? Are they always on tea breaks? What's going on? You've got an actual breakdown of that here, and then you've got the call volumes, and that's a great thing as well. So we're checking our call volumes, who's taking those calls, and then so how close we are to the actual schedule. How good are we at how good are the predictions the algorithms are generating? So it's really powerful stuff, and this is the stuff that can be exported for the humans, but this has also been consumed by the algorithm. So the algorithm just keeps on getting smarter. So that's great. So that's our reports. These can be exported to Excel or CSV or whatever you need. So the final part of the kind of cycle for me, and what I would expect from all workforce management software, is that you can do forecasting, the scheduling, and the reporting, and then some kind of check. So you've got the timesheets where your agents can submit their timesheets. They can be validated by the manager or the system, where you can check those too, and then submitted to a payroll system for Xero or ADP or one of these things. So we've got lots of things that we can export the validated timesheets out of the system and then talk to it. So workforce management can sit at the middle of all of your agent stuff. Basically, you can have the payroll plugging into it. You can have your CRMs and your call and IPscape and contact center management solutions plugging into it, and it will run these great reports all in one place. So you get a true 360-degree view of what your staff are doing and what you want them to be doing in the future, and allows all sorts of different and great things that you can experiment with. So that is timesheets. That's the last of the stuff on that. So predicting the future has never been easier with Agile Time and IPscape. So IPscape feeds the data into Agile Time, and Agile Time will analyze it and schedule and do all those other great things. So it's really interesting thing. It's great that we're working with workforce management software now, and there are a couple of other benefits that I've got here. So with this you can do your budgets and plans. You've got the right people in the right place at the right time. You've got an improved customer experience, and SLAs are all met. That's your service levels. Improved occupancy, lower payroll, reduction in non-productive time. Sorry, I got this. This is a list I got of all the good things that workforce management can do. And with that in mind, what I'd like to do is ask you guys to fill out a poll. I'm going to send this to you, and it's just which bits you'd like to hear more about. And we can do other webinars on this later on, and perhaps even give you a call and give you a demo of the software if you're interested in it. So I'm just going to send out this poll. So basically, it's just what elements of the workforce management cycle would you like to hear more about? And there's just a couple of check boxes, and I'm just going to send it out to you guys. If you could fill that in, it should be with you shortly. We'll have a real-time update in what people are most interested in. And in the meantime, I'll have a look at any questions you've got there. So let's take a look at the questions page. Great. Okay, that's awesome. That's great. So nothing in the questions. And we're getting a live feed here. We've got 50% of you are interested in the call forecasting. 25 are interested in staff rostering, and that was after I gave it such a recommendation. And then we've got so it's slipping now. The staff rostering has bumped up to 40%. So. And we had 50% of you had a vote on that, but that really is basically what I wanted to cover today. It's great. We've got a poll, so we'll be in touch to let you know more about those elements that you were more interested in. And that's my session for today. So thank you very much for joining us, and I'll see you for the next one.